So what I want to do today is cover a different software for doing some post-processing. And I want to do Graxpert. Now, Graxpert is a free software you can just download. Let me get to the website. Graxpert.com, Graxpert.com. And then you come to this site and then you just click on whichever version you need. I use the Windows AMD 64. And when you click on that, it'll start downloading the software. And up here in the right hand corner, you'll see a downloading thing. And if you click on it, it'll open all the things you've downloaded recently. And you'll see I've done several with Graxpert. There is a beta version that does some deconvolution stuff. That's not what we're going to deal with today. We're just going to download Graxpert from this site right here. Click on this, and if you click on it, it will, let's see, if I click it right, then it comes up here and you can see it start downloading. You come in here and you can pause it or cancel it if you want to, but it downloads that software. And then once it's done downloading, it changes here and puts a little file folder here. So you can click that and it'll show you this download in your downloads folder, or you can click here and open it and that will launch it and start installing it on your computer. So that's how you're going to install Graxpert. Now, once you get it installed, let me close that. Once you get it installed, you'll want to remember where it is saved so that you can launch the software. And in mine, I saved it to this documents folder. And I just created a folder here called Graxpert. And then when you open that folder, you see there's a whole bunch of files in here, but there's one that looks different, and that's right here. And over here it says application. That's how you know that that's the one that is the launching of the software. If you were to right click on this folder, you can see some, let me see. If you right click on it, it'll come up with this and you can have it show you more options. And then what I like to do is, let's see, send to my desktop. And that creates a shortcut on my desktop. So let me show you again how I got there in case it went too fast. Here's the file folder. Haven't clicked on it really yet. I'm just hovering over it and it highlights it and turns it blue. Then I'm going to right click on that right button on your mouse, and then I click this show more options and click left click on that. And then it gives you these options, and then I select this send to, and you're just hovering over it, you're not clicking anything, but when you hover it over it, it creates this other pop open box, and then I just have it send it to my desktop and create a shortcut there. And then when you go back to your desktop, this shortcut appears, this Graxpert shortcut right here. It appeared over here, and I just clicked on it and held it down the mouse button and moved it over here to where I want it. I want it to be here by serial because that's how I'm organizing my post-processing files. And then if you double click on it, it will open that Graxpert. And this is what Graxpert looks like. Well, one thing I like about Graxpert is it's a lot more user friendly than Serial. When I open Serial, there are tons of things I don't have any clue what they mean. And there's boxes and things are rolling across the screen, but this one looks a lot more simple. And so um, this is what you see when you open it. You'll see that there isn't that button for deconvolution. They have come out with a beta testing of the software. There would be a number 5 in here that says deconvolution, and then this saving would be number 6. But I have just downloaded the standard version. I haven't downloaded that beta version, and because I want to just start from the beginning so that we can all learn together on how to do some of this software. Now, I haven't changed any of these things. Um, the only thing that has changed is when the very first time I downloaded it, it said no stretch here. And if you remember in our serial software, if we left it in linear mode, that's the same as no stretch. And so when we load this image, we're going to load an image that we have already stacked. So I stacked some images in Serial, and the one I want to do today is probably one of my favorites is the M16. And this is the folder that I have saved my M16s, and there's my M16 subfolder. So I want to open that result.fit file. Now you see, we did some editing in Serial in previous videos, and these are those saved results. Well, I don't want to do any of those in Graxpert because I'm going to show you how we can do some of these post-processing, post-post processing steps in Graxpert. So I'm just going to use the one that was created right after it stacked all of the exposures, and it saved it as a result.fit. And so I just select that one and click open. You could also just double click it. It would do the same thing. And so now you see that we've loaded that image and it's black. Well, we remember when we were in Serial and we loaded that result.fit file, it was black too, but we had to go down and click that auto stretch. And that's what we need to do here too, because this is exhibiting no stretch. And so let's just do it to this very first one. And then it calculates it, and then the object appears. Let's show you what some of these different. So if I do the 15%, you'll see it gets a little bit brighter. The 20 gets a little bit brighter, but in addition to the object getting brighter, the background gets brighter. And so if you did the 30, that's the brightest it would get in this. But it washes out quite a bit because it's so bright. So let's just leave it at this 10% so we can see the object more than we see the background. I'm not going to mess with the saturation or anything. We're just going to do some simple post processing. So the thing I like about Graxpert is its use is very easy. So it's telling us step by step here what to do. It's not doesn't have a whole bunch of things on here that are confusing for beginners. And so we just do these things in order. So we already loaded the image, and that's what's created this. We did change it so we can view it. If we were to save this object just like in Serial, it's saving it in that um, other mode, the linear mode. So the next thing it wants us to do is to crop. So you just click that plus button right next to it, and then this yellow box appears with two circles in the corner. Well, that's what we're going to use to crop. You just left click with your mouse and hold it down, and then drag that yellow box to where you want it to be. So you can move it wherever you want it to be. Well, we want it to include all of the deep space object, but you see there's some nebulosity here around it. We maybe want to include that because it adds to its uniqueness. Then I'm going to click and do the same thing on the bottom. There's not quite as much in here. I do want to leave an edge around here because if I were to want to go in and print this, for example, I don't want the edge of this to be right up against there. I want it to have a little bit of a buffer around the edges of the object. And so we've got that little box kind of where we want it to be. And then you just click this apply crop. And there you see it. It enlarged it. And now we can see those pillars of creation. This is a good one where we can change those percentages of light, and you can see that they even become brighter. And you can see a lot more of the detail of the pillars of creation. This is just showing us the visibility of it and what we are working with. I'm going to make it 15 for the sake of this so that we can see the pillars, but we can also see some of the dark nebulosity around it. And so you can see a lot of the detail in this one. You can see this nebulosity up here has popped out a little bit, and that was just really from cropping it and making it a little bit brighter. Now, the next thing we want to do is this background extraction. That's what it's telling us to do. And it's asking us here some different things that maybe we don't know what they mean. The first time I did Graxpert, I think this was set to RBF, and then it had all of these things here. What I want to do is I want it to use artificial intelligence and calculate things on its own. And so I want it to do a lot of the work for me. So I'm changing it and letting the AI or the artificial intelligence do some of the work for me. I'm not going to change this smoothing thing right now, but then I'm going to just click the background extraction. And it says no background extraction AI model is selected. Please select one from the advanced page on the right. And so I just click OK. Well, there's nowhere to set any of that over here. That's referring to this button right over here, this advanced. If you click on that, it opens this um, more advanced things here. And I don't know what some of these are when you're a beginner. So you're just kind of looking through it like, what? I don't know what that means. What the AI is referring to is this denoising AI model, and it has selected or pre-populated none right there. So I know that's what it's talking about because that little pop-up window told us. Let's see if we can get it to pop up again. Just by clicking that calculate background, we got that to pop up, and it's saying, we can't do what you're asking us to do because there's no background extraction AI model selected. Well, that's what this is this background extraction AI model, and it's selected to none. I guess we'll have to close that pop-up window. Then we click the arrow down and it gives us these options. Well, the option I want to do whenever you're working with software, we want to use the latest software because that has the most advanced features. And so here we have 1.0.0 and we have 1.0.1. So that's the one I'm going to select there. Um, so let's go ahead. I won't change any of these others now because I want to show you some of the things that can pop up along the way. So we're going to close that advanced tab because now we've selected the AI model for this. So we do calculate background. Now it's working, and now you see that it's removed some of the noise in the background, and it has changed the color just a little bit. Um, Okay, I had to answer a phone call and now I'm back. So you see, it did change the color on this one a little bit. And so let's play around with those percentages again and see if we see a big difference. These percentages really just make it brighter. So now that first one is a good one. It does show some of the color. Um, you can choose whichever one you want to look at. And so we have done the remove the background with the background extraction. And so we can close that window. So now we've done step number 3. Now, something that we want to do is we want to save things along the way. I've talked about this before that we don't want to do 16 steps and then have something go wrong and want to go back a step, but for some reason we can't. And so then we have to start all over again. And so let's save this along the way. And so we're going to click this little plus button right next to saving, and it comes up and it's going to save it as a TIFF file and save processed. And then it's going to pop up this window and ask us, where do you want it saved? Well, I'm going to save it still in that M16 subs folder. And this is the name it's going to give it. It's going to give it results with a step in Graxpert. That's what that's kind of telling us. You could rename that if you want, but I'll just save it as the default. And now you're going to save it. Well, now we want to open that file so that we're working with the latest version. So we click open, it opens our default home folder. I scroll to the bottom. There's that one that we opened when we began the video, and here's the one that we just saved, the result.graxpert. Click open. Okay, so I have loaded that results.graxpert.tiff file, and this is what we've got. So we've done the cropping and we've done the background extraction. Let's do the denoising now, and we click denoise. Comes up with pre-populated things. You could certainly mess around with it as you're learning. That'll help you learn the software. But for now, for the ease of the making the video, we'll just leave it at the default. I'm going to click denoise. And now I'm going to get this error message, just like we did when we were doing the background extraction. It's saying, no denoising AI model selected. Please select one from the advanced panel on the right. And we know from doing it before that that means just click on this advanced, scroll down to where it's talking about the denoising AI model, and it is selected none. It did default back to this. I ended up having to restart Graxpert when I was clicking too many times earlier on. It kind of froze up the program, so I just shut it down and restarted it. So it is default, remove these back to default, but we had it at that 1.01 for the background extraction. For the denoising, we're going to do the same thing, do the drop down, and we have a lot of options here, 1.00 all the way up to 3.02. I always like to select the most current one. That is the latest version of this AI model, and so that's the one I choose. We can close that, and then we can do denoise the image. And now this is a different error message that pops up. It says selected denoising AI model is not installed. Should I download it and install it now? And I click yes because I want it to download that latest version of the denoising AI software. And so it's going to take a second here. You can see the progress of it so that you know that it's not just frozen up, and it's going to take a minute here. If it takes too long, I will crop out that part of the video so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But this is what it's doing is it's downloading that software for the denoising AI model. It didn't do that on the background extraction one because I had previously downloaded that AI model earlier, a different time when I was using it. And so it didn't ask for that. And I'm glad it popped up because I'd forgotten that that was a thing that would happen. And when you're beginners, all these things pop up that are different than what you've seen on whatever tutorial, and it's confusing. So I'm glad that that popped up. So we will just wait for that to load. I'll clip out the video if I need to, and then come back when we're ready to see the denoising. Okay, so it has downloaded it, and now it is doing the denoising. And so you can see that progress here as it's calculating out. The AI is contemplating this and figuring out what it needs to do the denoising on, and that's what's happening here. Okay, so the denoising has been done. Another thing that I had forgotten to show you earlier on is this up here. This name up here changes along the way. Um, this one says now denoised because it has done the denoising. If you click this arrow down, it will show you the original. So you can go back and see the original versus the denoised version. Now you don't see tons and tons of difference in this one. Maybe if I make it brighter, we'll see more. Let's try that. You still don't see a whole lot because it depends on what there is available for it to denoise. Sometimes that can be significant, and other times it's minuscule. But that has done the denoising now. You could have done that exact same thing when you did the background extraction. It would have the original and the background extraction options up here. Uh, After we saved it and reopened the saved background extracted file, that then became the original for this session. And so that's why the original is that one is the background has been extracted, the cropping has been done, and it's the original file that had cropping and background extraction done on it. And now we opened it to do the denoising. This became the original before we did the denoising. And so that's the denoising. And so now we're going to go ahead and save that. I'll keep those defaults. You could change these things if you need to, but for beginners, the default is usually the best route to go. So just um, click the save now and it comes up. And now what it does is it says, okay, the result, Graxpert. And so what that is telling us is this is the result.fit file that we got out of Cyril from stacking. And then we did one process in Graxpert, or we saved an episode of Graxpert, which was the cropping and the background extraction. And now this one is saving a Graxpert again because we went in and did the denoising in Graxpert. So every time that you go in and save it doing a process, it's going to change this name and add something here. If you do download the beta version, which I think we'll probably cover that in a future video, it does actually, instead of saying Graxpert here, it will tell you background extraction. And then this one would say denoise or whichever process you were saving during that session. And so I think that's only in the beta version. In the just the regular download version off of their website that is been released, that is um, available to everybody, it does it this way. So each step, it saves another Graxpert. So if we were to go in and do other steps, it would continue to add them every time we saved something new. And so that's kind of an explanation about that. And then we'll click save. And now we've got the Graxpert has done some of the work for us. And now what we want to do is let's open this in Cyril. Let me see. I haven't opened Cyril yet to do it. And so these files are suitable for Cyril or for Graxpert. Um, I already have the home folder as the M16 subs folder. So I can click open and it's going to go in and find all of those files that are in the M16. If we go down to the bottom, here's those files. This one right here was the one that we stacked in Cyril. And then here are the Graxperts one. This one was the one where we did the background extraction. It also had the cropping in it. And then this one is the one that we did the denoise and the Graxpert. And then you click open. Well, lo and behold, it's black because as we remember, it saves it in that linear mode. And so we just go down here to linear, click to the auto stretch. We can do the high definition. And to color correct, I always click that unchain thing right there. And that looks very similar to what we had in Graxpert. And now we can go in and we can do some of the plate solving and star removals and things like that. But that is how we use Graxpert. It does similar things in Cyril, but I find Graxpert to be a little bit more user friendly, especially for beginners. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. It's giving you some ideas on how you can do some learning. I do like Graxpert because it is so much more user friendly. I guess I closed it. But you can go in and play with some of the dials that are in Graxpert without really messing things up too much. It's a little bit more stressful in Cyril because when you do things, that um, box pops up here and scrolls through, and it's kind of stressful. Maybe it's just me, but It's a little bit more intimidating in Cyril, and so I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial on using Graxpert. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I won't guarantee I have all the answers, but I can certainly look into finding answers for them. But that's a beginning tutorial on using Graxpert. Again, we're wishing clear skies for everybody all the time, and it just hasn't been happening for me lately. I wake up in the morning and it's clear skies, blue skies, everything's great. And about 7:30 at night, the clouds start rolling in and it gets cloudy, and we all know how it goes. And so I haven't been able to use my Seestar for a few days, but so that's a good time to do some of this post processing. We're um, wishing everybody clear skies and thanks for watching.